Yeah, they do. And of course, I do believe in a devil. I believe in spirits. I don't fear them at all as a Christian. But if these people believe in these things, and they even fear them, and they serve them, then we have a real problem. For example, if a Hitler were to be a secret member of a group called the Thule Society, and it taught the Aryan race and other concepts, well, then we begin to understand what happened in World War II.
Yeah, and he uses a sun symbol, and he really believed in the occult powers of symbols. Just look at the SS logo. We'll be back with Texe Mars discussing Codex Magica and mysterious monuments. It's the Info Warrior, PrisonPlanet.com, Infowars.com. We are streaming live over at PrisonPlanet.tv. It's the Info Warrior with Jason Bermas, and we're with Texe Mars discussing Codex Magica and mysterious monuments. You know, before we go any further, and I really want to get into the pentagram symbolism and the Dog Star series, but how does a guy like you, I mean, these books are, these are about the thickest books you can get. They're the best books I think you can get, by the way. I mean, I remember when Codex Magica first came out, I'm like, finally, someone put it all together. I mean, this thing, whether you agree with it or not, or agree with every single little photograph or detail, it is just a plethora of knowledge on occult hand signs. There's architecture in here. It really, really gets down into the nitty-gritty. How do you get started into something like this?
Well, Jason, first of all, thank you. You compliment me more than I perhaps deserve. But
oh, no, sir.
But about, let's say, it was 1982, I left the Air Force. And actually, I was quite interested in high technology, so for the layman, and I wrote, set up a publishing house, and published a number of high-tech books. I was the first guy to do an encyclopedia of personal robots, and it was a main selection of the Computer Book Club, the Electronic Book Club. I did one of the first books on careers with robots or robotics, careers in computers, many books like that I published for major publishers. But I really... in 1986, I became a Christian, dedicated myself to Christ and to exposing darkness in the world. And I'll tell you, there's a lot of darkness out there to expose, Jason. For example, I first began to expose the occult and the history of occultism going all the way back to ancient Babylon, even to Mesoamerica. Then I had a visit from a young man who was a graduate of Yale University, quite brilliant, and he said, when I was at Yale University, I did a paper, some original research, on an organization called Skull and Bones. And no one's ever seen this paper that I've done because, I was a student there, but would you like to have it? And he says, there's more than just the occult world. There are these secret societies. So that sort of spiraled me off into that with his research. And so... in any case, as I spread out, I discovered that the ones who were behind these huge peace organizations, the environmental organizations, and the occult were the same as in the secret societies. The same names keep coming up over and over at the very top, whether it's the Bohemian Grove or Skull and Bones, Freemasonry, Ordo Templi Orientis, and I discovered that the money men. Let me give you a small example of that, if I could, because it's so shocking, you almost won't believe it. On top of the Standard Oil building, now this is Standard Oil, the Rockefeller building, okay, in New York City. Believe it or not, it's a skyscraper built by John D. Rockefeller, okay, the Rockefeller, who founded Standard Oil, from which we have today, everything from ExxonMobil to Texaco, etc. On top of it is a great Mayan pyramid. Really, it's more than that. It is the very recreation of the tomb of Mausolus. Now, Mausolus was a king in ancient Greece. And the very word mausoleum came from King Mausolus. He built a tomb for him and his wife. Now, why would Rockefeller, the Standard Oil building, right now go all the way to the top floor and you find that you're there you're in the midst of a Greek temple? It's like it's superimposed. It doesn't even fit. on top. It looks like, somebody first built a skyscraper and left it all bald on top, a huge square. Then they came and recreated the tomb of Mausolus, which was one of the ancient 7 wonders of the world. Well, what I discovered as I began to research this, I found that the tomb of Vladimir Lenin in Leningrad, now, St. Petersburg, is built exactly like the tomb of Mausolus. Now we have the communist connection with Rockefeller. But to show the reinforcement, I dug a little bit more, and I found that the tomb of Ho Chi Minh, the leader of the communists in Vietnam, our dreadful enemy back in the that era, Ho Chi Minh, his tomb also is built like the tomb of Mausolus. So this can't be an accident. This Oriental communist tomb of Mausolus, and remember, these are places of death, but yet Standard Oil has it on top of its building.
Well, it is very intriguing that they all seem to go by this ancient architecture and all this symbology. We're going to come back with Texe Mars after this. It's the Info Warrior, PrisonPlanet.tv, Infowars.com. All right, we're back. It's the Info Warrior with Jason Bermas, and we're talking to Texe Mars. And speaking of symbology, Texe, I want to really go through the pentagram because, not only is it a representation of Baphomet, but, it appears in D.C. Architecture, it appears in masonry, and, some say that it's a representation for the dog star Sirius.
Well, it definitely is a representation of the dog star Sirius. And, of course, even the Bible in the book of Acts, you'll remember that the children of Israel, when they left Egypt, they fell into apostasy and went, as the Bible calls it, whoring after other gods, one of which was that golden calf. But the Apostle Paul in the book of Acts says they also worshiped the star of their god, who was called Remphan or Kiun. So they worshiped a star god, and, of course, this angered the true God of the Bible. So we go all the way back to Egypt then, and in fact, on page 518 of my book, Mysterious Monuments, I show the Egyptian hieroglyph, the art form, their language, which is a pictograph. But the Egyptian hieroglyph, meaning Osiris, the great sun god, was actually a 5-pointed star, along with a triangle and a half moon. So it does have magical import to it. Now, you mentioned the dog star, Sirius. This is one of the top secrets in Freemasonry. That the dog star is returning. There was some confusion about this Planet X and some occult nature to it just a few years ago. But basically, they believe that this Planet X, or this Sirius, is coming again. Now, Sirius has 2 smaller stars or planets circulating around it, astronomers say. So you have Sirius, and then you have Sirius A and B. This is a symbol in unholy astrology of the unholy Trinity, okay? And again, all this gets very silly for us, but even here in Texas, the great Lone Star, that was adopted for the state symbol because the Freemasons, Sam Houston, Davy Crockett, and the others helped to found this state. And I might add, by the way, Santa Anna himself was a Freemason, General Santa Anna of Mexico. It was sort of an in-house dispute, Jason. But back to this 5-point star, isn't it fascinating that Vladimir Lenin, Trotsky, and the other communists, who basically were Zionist Jews, and they set up began their great kingdom of the Jews, you might say, with the Soviet Union, but they adopted the star as their great symbol, along with the hammer and sickle. So so you have this great star, which is still seen, throughout the Soviet Union today. And I mentioned the Texas because, the star is everywhere. It's ubiquitous throughout the state of Texas as a symbol, too. And that's we talk about this being the Lone Star State. Again, all of these are Masonic signs, but the star is very important. A very popular women's Masonic group, is the Eastern Star, Women of the Eastern Star.
Mm-hmm.
And they have the 5-pointed star with the 2 points up, which in witchcraft manuals tells you those are the 2 horns of the devil.
Mm-hmm. And then they line up with Baphomet in some of these, pictures in the books as well. It seems like also, you keep mentioning that these world leaders use these symbols. I mean, Hitler used, the swastika, which was a sun symbol, and the SS logo.